I've deposed to the National Women Commission and have cooperated completely with everything that they wanted to know. But what I've said to them is really in their domain, and I'd like to leave it at that.
But do you, many would say that you've been called by the NCW because there have been criticism against you as well, that you didn't take the stand. Would you maintain till now as well that you have taken whatever possible stand that you could?
No, you're right that there's been criticism about my response to this incident, but I think that there's a mistake in the criticism that has been coming at me, I would say in an extremely sort of vociferous fashion, is that I think I've made institutional sort of procedural mistakes, but the fact that I've been constantly accused and questions have been raised about my integrity vis-a-vis the fact that was I trying to collude, was I trying to cover up, was I trying to hush up, I have repeatedly been saying, look at the demonstrable facts. I got somebody to give an apology, I got that person to stand down. All my emails were copied to colleagues and journalists. By no measure of any understanding can that be deemed as a cover-up or a hush-up or collusion. But if the criticism is that I did not act in a measured way or in the correct sort of institutional frameworks, I accept that and I apologize for it. But I'd also like to remind everybody that I had barely a day and a half to act on any of this before, the media storm took over. And in that 3 days, there was an apology, step down, and a committee that was in the process of being set up in 3 days. I don't see that as delay. But if looking back, you say, did I make mistakes? I accept that and I apologize. Shoma, it's in my resignation letter, it's in my repeated statements that what pains me is that questions are being raised about my integrity. If the media debate had been a measured debate about better responses, about more informed responses, I think it would have been a very fruitful debate, because I think most workplaces are not really prepared or sensitized or trained to deal with instances like this. But I continue to say that the fact that questions have been raised at the very, foundation of my integrity is very painful to me. It harms Tehelka's brand, and that's why I've stepped down. I haven't stepped down because my other colleagues have stepped down. We are a fairly large group of journalists. 5 of them have stepped down. Their resignation letters are amicable. That's not the motivation. The motivation is that questions on my integrity harm Tehelka, and that is why I've stepped down. My Hindi is very inadequate. जो आज मेरे घर में जो अटैक हुई वो और जो मेरा घर में जो डिफेस किया गया, इट्स वेरी वेरी डिस्ट्रेसिंग. ये हम काफ़ी और ओकेजन्स पे भी हम देखते हैं इस काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रीट एंगर. मुझे तो इस पे बहुत ही आई एम वेरी अपसेट अबाउट इट, बिकॉज आई थिंक इट्स इन कीपिंग विद द वे दैट वी रिस्पॉन्ड एज अ सोसाइटी. When there are mistakes, it must be discussed. I think there must be a measured public discourse, which is a very useful one. I have absolutely no problems being questioned by anybody, and definitely by my fraternity. But I think what is problematic is the tone, because it creates this kind of volatile situation. Yes, I've complained to the National Commission of Women for what happened to me today. I have children, they were terrified. I don't think this is proportionate, and I have filed a complaint to the police. Beyond that, I wouldn't like to comment.